Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What is crack-a-lackin' traders? Welcome back and happy Money Monday. It is Money Monday. Money Monday. Get it? You gotta have like, what's that one movie? I'm running the blank. What is it? Superstar. Like an old movie. I don't know. Well, what's up, everybody? Good morning again. You guys know the deal. You got to hit me with a big old good morning before you officially dive into it. We're going to be breaking everything down today. Futures, stocks, options, you name it. Talk about what we got going on for today, where I see there to be the best of the best potential. What are my game plans? Where am I looking to put my money with these trades? Make it happen and have a profitable Money Monday with you all. So I'm ready to crush it. And I'm excited to be back. Tom, what's up? Spirit Fingers. Yeah. Spirit Fingers. Yeah. Superstar. That's it, man. What's up, everybody? Corey, Tom, good morning. Let's officially dive into it, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So we're going to start with ES. All right. ES. You got a light daily zone, like a lower significant daily zone at first glance, but when you dive down into like a lower time frame and you further analyze this zone, it looks solid, right? So we got this daily zone of resistance here on ES. It's up between 64.31 to 64.36, all right? And again, like I said, you only got like 3 to 4 hits on the daily. You got 1 hit, 2 hit, you got 3 hits. And we kind of came up a little bit and hit that level Thursday, but not quite to the penny. So technically to the penny hits, you got 3. So it's right at first glance a lower significant zone. But when you take this down into a lower time frame, you start to really see good lower time frame development off that zone, right? You can't see this type of stuff on a daily. You come down, you bounce off that level, you crack it, retest it, move lower. Come back up, smack it as resistance. You drop back below it, retest it, big dump on off. So you can't see this type of development on a daily. On the daily, we see an area. We got to go further validate that zone to see if it is indeed a key significant level that we want to be making trading decisions off of. And I see it's a great zone, right? We can further validate the zone on a lower time frame, again, looking to see how the stock developed off that level. So we have that daily zone. All right, what else do we have here on ES? Well, we do have this 1 hour supply zone right there. That was created last Thursday. Was that last Thursday? Nah, that wasn't last Thursday. That was 2 Thursdays ago. That was Thursday, July 31st. We have this rally, base, nice big drop on off. So go ahead and mark up your 1 hour supply. All right, and then lastly, go down to a 30-minute. We got some 30-minute supply inside of the hour. So there is your rally. There's your 30-minute base. There's your impulse out. All right, so you got some 30 minutes inside of the hour. So it's starting to look really good. I really like this little region right here to take a short today on ES. Why would I want to get short on ES? Well, I have 3 reasons to get short on ES right around like 64.33, right? That's going to be the midpoint of my daily zone of resistance. That's also going to be pretty much the midpoint of that 4 hour. Oh, no, it's 1 hour. It's 1 hour, 30-minute supply. So I want to be getting short on ES right around, 64.33. And again, the reasons I want to get short there, the reasoning's key. Just because I say I want to get short there, it's irrelevant. I want you guys to learn why that's a great area to get short. It's because we have key resistance. We have 2 overlapping zones of supply. That gives us 3 reasons to take this trade short right at 46.33, where all of those confluences line up and meet at the same price, right? So that's my first game plan on ES today, is getting short up around 64.33, putting stops at 64.38. So about 5 points of risk. We got to look left and assess target. Well, that nice little pullback low from pre-market right here, that looks to be a really good realistic target. So target's going to be down around 64.12. You got a 4-to-1 risk reward, guys. 4-to-1. So what does that really mean? Well, if you are okay with risking, say, $200 a trade, let's say that's your risk parameter. All right, you can afford to lose $200 a trade. right? You've got potential to make $800 if this trade plays out. That's into a very realistic first target. So that's going to be the short plan on ES and the reasonings I want to get short there on ES, right? But I like to look at both sides of the market. Like, yeah, the short looks great, but what if we open and we just see explosive buying pressure straight up through that supply zone and through that resistance zone? Well, what do we do at that point in time? Will we go through and remove those two supply zones? They've been mitigated. They're irrelevant now. We're going to remove them. And then what are we left with? We're left with that zone of resistance that we could see backtest as support. That's a break and retest. So if we break through all that supply goes bye-bye. We're going to wait to see if price pulls back into that daily zone and see if we hold above it as support today. And if we see a simple break and retest opportunity setting up off that daily zone, we're going to get long up into some of that supply that's up against those all-time highs. All right, so we have some overlapping supply up around those all-time highs. And that overlap here, if I can get my damn mouse to work correctly, the overlap is like 64.57 is the overlap, right? You got 4-hour supply, you got 1-hour supply, you got 30-minute. And so that's the overlap between those three zones of supply. So that's the target, right? So what's the plan going to look like on ES today if you guys are trading ES? So the game plan, if we break that zone, is to get in along the retest. So where would entries be? At the zone, along the retest. Where do stops go? Below that zone, right? So if we're removing those supply zones, we would get in at the zone along the retest, put stops below the zone, and we know where we want to take profit. Where is a realistic target? Those three overlapping zones of supply to the upside. So again, where's my target? 64.57. What kind of risk reward game plan do I have? It's a 4-to-1, almost a 5-to-1 opportunity on ES. So I'll take that trade. Absolutely. If we break the zone, retest it as support, I'm getting in. I know exactly where I'm selling for profit. I know exactly where I'm getting out for a loss. I know exactly what my loss is going to be. It's predefined before I take the trade so I can manage it. I know how much profit potential I have to make, and I'm okay. I accept the outcome. I'm cool with losing $200 to see if I can make $800 to $1,000 on that simple break and retest trade. And that's the game plan, guys. It's as simple as that. All right, so that's ES. To the long side, if we break through all of that supply. But like I said, if we come up, hit supply, hit resistance, don't break it, I want to get short down to 64.12. All right, you guys got questions about ES? You guys pretty dialed in with ES. Makes sense? You guys see all the zones and the levels? It's clicking. Let's do a quick pulse check. Make sure you guys are good on ES. Then we'll dive into like NQ. And then take a look at silver as well. All right, you guys all set? Good, good, cool. NQs, it's pretty simple. We have a daily zone of lower support on NQ down around 23,652 to 23,672. All right, so that's going to be an area that we just assess price action off of. It's a lower significant zone from the daily. We only have 3 daily hits. So again, it really comes down to how does price develop off that zone. All right, so if we come down to that zone and we see that we have clearly more buyers than sellers present by reading price action, we're going to get long on NQ. It's that simple. All right, where to? 23,800. Why 23,800, Josh? Well, that's where we have overlapping supply. I'll show that to you guys here in a minute. All right, but that would be the target if we see NQ come down base off that daily zone of support with good price action, we'll get long. What does the game plan look like on NQ? Entries off the zone if we have good price action down there. Again, price action is a must. So entries ideally as close to the midpoint as possible. That's the objective. Stops go below that zone. And then we're going to set a target up at the overlap between those 3 zones of supply. So this is what your plan would look like here on NQ. You got to give it about 20 points of risk. If you're like, dude, 20 points of risk, that's way too much. That's $400 per contract. Okay, size down. Go to like 3 to 5 MNQ contracts to cut your risk. All right, so you can absolutely go trade some micros if 20 points is too much on a E-mini like NQ. All right, then we got our targets, right? We're asking for a lot, but we're trading with the trend on NQ. We're in an uptrend, right? We are nice uptrending on these lower time frames. We broke prior highs as well. We got a nice lower time frame trend to the upside. So we're trading with the trend. And so I would expect some potential follow through. So is this a trade that I would want to manage thoroughly, scale out correctly, and try and maintain some of this position up into that 23,800 level? Absolutely. Right? It's not a counter trend trade where I'm looking to just scalp it for a quick, 2 to 1, 3 to 1. I'm trading with the trend. So I would expect potential follow through in line with the trend. That's why I would actively manage that trade and see how high I could take it. See if we get the 23,800. Right? But if this was a counter trend trade, I would just look to scalp it for a quick little 2 to 1, 3 to 1, guys. But this, I do expect a little bit more follow through potential. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, ask questions. I'm here to answer those questions for you guys. All right. So that's going to be the first plan on NQ, right? Now, let me show you the 3 overlapping areas of supply we have, just so you can get them marked up, right? Now, again, rule of thumb is there's no supply at all-time highs, right? So we're already naturally going to tread lightly with taking any trades off supply at all-time highs. Doesn't mean I'm not going to take it, means I'm extra picky with taking those trades. We have to have good price action, good price reaction when we hit the overlap. And we have to have like really good risk reward. Like realistically, I need to be able to get 5 to 1 out of this. If I can't get at least a 5 to 1, taking a short up against those all-time highs, I pass. So I'm very, very picky on getting short at all-time highs when we have supply. So just keep that in the back of your mind, right? No supply at all-time highs. But we do want to go ahead and mark up what we have because there could be a quick scalp opportunity that sets up if we have a potential 5 to 1 plan. So we got to see, is that even realistic? Let's build the plan, right? So we do have our 4-hour supply zone right there, right? You can clearly see the 4-hour rally base drop formation. So there's going to be your 4-hour supply. Go down into your 1-hour time frame. All right, if you look at the 1-hour time frame, there is your big old 1-hour supply zone. So now you have some overlap between the 1-hour and the 4-hour. And then flip it down into a 30. You get one more 30-minute zone right there on a 30-minute. Rally, base, big drop on off. So you see how you have all of those zones, they start to overlap. All right, so that little overlap right around 23,800 is the overlap between the 4-hour, the 1-hour supply zone, and the 30-minute supply zone. So that is going to be the optimal entry point, is inside of the overlap. Okay. I will, on this trade, normally I'll put stops above the top of the zone of supply, but that's like 50 points. It's way too much risk. I'm not going to carry that much heat up to the very tippity top of that supply zone. So this trade, based on what we have, I would be putting stops above the overlap. All right, stops above the overlap. So if I get stopped out, I'm risking like 10 points. Not 50 points. 10 points, I'm out. Small paper cut loss. Let it get all the way up to the top end of that supply zone, and then I could re-enter at the tippity top, right, versus taking all that heat all the way up. I'm not going to take 50 points of heat and not even see that short set up. I'll take 10 points of risk taking a trade off the overlap. If we come up and set up off the top into that supply zone, then I could always re-enter, but I'm not going to take 50 points of heat all the way up to the top of that supply zone. It just doesn't make any sense when you really, do the numbers. All right, so entry is going to be right around 23,800 to the short side on NQ. That's off the third overlap of supply. We're going to carry about 15 points of risk, putting stops above that overlap. All right, we're going to look left and assess a target. Can I realistically get a 5-to-1 setup. Well, I would say target's got to be back into these lows. So we push on up, maybe put in some lows, come up into that supply zone, look left. Those prior lows would be my first target. What's my risk-reward potential on NQ? It's a 5-to-1. Cool. Will I take this trade short on NQ? Yes, I will. I got defined risk of 15 points. I got a 5-to-1 setup. I have 3 overlapping zones of supply. Yeah, I get it. It's at all-time highs, so the probabilities are lower on this trade. That's why I'm really making sure that my risk-reward makes sense, right? My probabilities are naturally going to be lower on this trade. So I'm not taking a 2-to-1 setup, right? A 3-to-1, maybe. 5-to-1's ideal. So lower probability setup, 5-to-1 risk-reward. I'm all about that. All right, so that gives a big old check in my book. I will take that trade on NQ if it sets up. So that is your second plan for NQ today, guys. All right, and then lastly, right, if we come down below that zone of support, let's say we fall below it and retest it as intraday resistance, I will get short back into the lows from Friday. All right, so what is that plan going to look like if we fall below the zone and retest it? Entries along the retest if we fall below and retest that zone. Stops above the zone. Look left. Target. Low a day from Friday. What's your risk reward? Almost a 7-to-1. Would I take that trade? Abso-freaking-lutely. Why wouldn't I take that trade? It's a good setup off a key daily zone, and I would have almost 7-to-1 potential. I'm all about it. All right, so that also gets a check in my book. So those are the 3 plans on NQ. All right, and I like doing that. I don't want to just come in and say, I am super bullish today and have like one plan. I want to look at all sides of the market because let's be real, we don't know what the market's going to do. We don't know if we're going to come down and hold that zone. But if we do, we got a plan built. We don't know if NQ is going to come up, hit supply, and then dump on off. But if it does, we got a plan built. We don't know if NQ is going to fall below that zone, retest it as resistance and flush. But if it does, guess what? We got a plan built. So I'm looking at every possible scenario. Like, what could realistically happen today? And I want to get prepared. I want to build plans, have an idea of where my entries would be. Where would I even put stops? Where's my target? Would this even be a good risk-reward trade that I would want to take in the first place? I want to get fucking clear on exactly what I'm going to do today and what I want to see in order to take action and make a decision to take a trade. Right? Preparation's everything. If you don't thoroughly get prepared like this, you're probably not hitting the goals that you have for yourself in the market. I'm just, being honest with you. If you come in, market's open, let's go find some trades, you're probably losing more than you're winning. If you come in and take enough time to get prepared, you're clear, right? Helps keep the emotions off the table. You're ready to rock and roll. You're probably doing well. So always take time to come in, guys, and get thoroughly prepared for the day. 30 minutes, an hour, doesn't matter. Preparation's everything. All right, so that's NQ. 3 potential game plans for today, and then we're going to go finish it up with silver futures. I think silver looks great. So what do we have on silver futures? Well, first thing that I noticed is nice valid leg to the upside, right? Nice big push up, swing low, swing high. This high breaks the prior lower high in the process, so that's a higher high, right? So we got to swing low, we got to swing high. That's worthy of putting a fib retracement on it, right? Because we validated and verified that is a leg to the upside because we broke that prior lower high in the process. So it's worthy of a fib retracement. So take that fib retracement from the swing low up to the swing high. All right. What else do we notice on silver futures? Well, I noticed we got some demand sitting right down here. All right. We have this drop base rally formation here on silver. So go ahead and mark up your 4-hour demand zone. I didn't really notice anything else on a 4-hour. So then I flipped it down into a 1-hour time frame. And then I noticed, oh, would you look at that? 1 hour, drop, base, rally, nice big impulse to the upside. So I have some overlap between my 4-hour demand zone and my 1-hour demand zone. Do you see that little overlap right there? That's where the 2 zones meet. Right, so that's already where I want to get in. All right, what else do I notice about this possible trade? Not only do I want to get in on that demand overlap, because there's already a pretty good high probability chance we bounce off that level. Look at where that fib retracement's at. You see that golden pocket? That fib retracement golden pocket just so happens to line up with our demand overlap, giving you 3 A+ reasons to take this trade long on silver futures if we get down to around 37.35. All right. So what's going to be the plan on silver? Getting in right where we have all 3 of those confluences meet. And we've identified where those 3 confluences meet, right? Right here at 37. It's actually 37.38. All right, I said 37.35. It's actually 37.38. But again, that's going to be the overlap. That's right off that fib retracements, golden pocket. That's the sweet spot. Where do stops go? Stops go below those demand zones. All right. And then look left to assess a target. Right now, if we open, all right, and we come on down and hit that demand and we get in, look left, where would your target be? The prior lower high. So let's assume that's the lower high that is there prior to getting that entry. If that's the lower high, that's our target here on silver. All right, so let's go ahead and take our target on up. What does that give us? Woo! 5-to-1 setup. 5-to-1 setup. All right, so will I take this trade on silver futures? Absolutely. I got 3 reasons to get long down around 37.7. No. Yeah, 37.38. My bad. I'm dyslexic. 37 period 38. All right, that's going to be the optimal entry point. You're going to run about 9 cents of risk. You're looking for about 50 cents of upside. Boom. Nice little 5-to-1 setup on silver. Right? So how many plans did we just build? We got the plan on silver, A+ plan. I'm putting my name behind it. I'm putting my capital behind it. This is something I will trade. So you got silver. You have 3 game plans on NQ. Right? You got 3 game plans. You have the 2 short plans on NQ. You got the 1 long plan. That's if we come down, hold that zone as support. That's your long. So you got 3 plans on NQ. And then how many plans did you have with ES? 2. You had your 2 plans with ES. Right? First plan was getting shorts off that zone of resistance with those 2 zones of supply. Right? Second plan was if we break through all of that supply and retest that daily zone of resistance as support, we're going to trade the break and retest long up into that overlapping supply. So you have 2 plans on ES. That's a total of 6. 6 A+ well-built trade plans. 6. So you need 1 of the 6 to present. That's all you're looking for, guys. Right? We have 3 tickers. We have 6 plans. All we need to see is 1 of those plans really start to present itself. We don't know which one it's going to be. We don't know if silver's going to come down and hit the overlap and confirm entries. We don't know if NQ is going to hold this zone or fall below the zone. We don't know. But what do? We let the market open at 9:30. We wait for these stocks to come to our levels first. When they get to our levels, we're looking for confirmation to take the trade. That could be price reactions or price action at these levels. If we see price action or a price reaction confirming entries on the trade, guess what? We've already built the plans, right? You should already have an idea of how many contracts you're trading. All you have to do is click the buy button. We need 1 of these 6 plans to set up. If 1 of these 6 set up, you're going to have a very, very successful day. All right? So that's that. What else are you guys looking at today? Let's go dive into some individual stock analysis. Any tickers that you guys are looking at, let's review them. Let's get you guys prepared for the day. But those are my top 3 stocks that I want to focus on. Actually, I lied. Last one's Goog. G-O-O-G. Goog. Gap fill rejection, right? So we are coming up to the top of this daily gap. Top of the daily gap on G-O-O-G. The price is 204.46. That's the top of the gap. What do we know about gaps? Most of the time when we fill a gap, what do we see? A gap fill rejection, right? So if we come up to the top of the gap at 204.46 and we have good price action at the top of the gap, indicating there are way more sellers than buyers, and we can clearly see that, we're going to get short for that gap fill rejection on Goog. G-O-O-G. What's the plan look like? Well, entries at the top of the gap. Stops, above the gap. You're probably looking at about 70 cents above the gap. That's realistic. About 70 cents above the gap. Look left. Where's your most realistic target? These lows that we're basing off of right now. So if we push on up, fill the gap, have good price action, we get short. Stops are about 70 cents above the gap. We're looking for a $3 target back down into these basing lows. What's my risk reward potential? That's realistic. 4 to 1. I risk $200, I can make $800. I risk $500, I can make $2,000, right? It's 4 to 1 risk reward. So I like the plan. It's realistic. Plenty of risk above the top of the gap. Realistic target. Naturally a good risk reward setup. We'll take that trade on Goog for the gap fill rejection, ladies and gentlemen. All right. All right. What else are we looking at? What other stocks are we looking at, guys? What time frame is that on? That's just an hour time frame on Goog, but the daily gap, you analyze gaps on the daily. So if you go to Goog on a daily, you can see that we had this big gap down in price, right? That's the top of the gap before the big gap down. So the top of the gap is where we're looking for the gap fill, whoop, rejection to play puts, to get short on Goog. So the gap was identified on the daily. And that's how you identify gaps. Daily, weekly, monthly gaps are significant. I hope you make bank today as well. Appreciate it. Guns, it's been a hot minute, dude. What's up? Hunter, it's been a very hot minute as well. What's crack-a-lacking, guys? All right, next stock. AMC earnings in. Thought they were reporting after the close. AMC earnings are in. Thought they were reporting after the close. Were they after or before? I see daytime. Monday, August 11th, daytime. So AMC earnings are out, and AMC is moving on up. So do we want to go look at some meme stocks? Yeah, shit. Why not? Let's go look at some meme stocks, guys. All right, first thing that I notice on the good old fucking AMC. Woo, AMC, baby. Meme stocks are back. Well, I could see that we have a pretty nice little area of resistance, right? If you just kind of look at the daily, a lot of resistance building, a lot of resistance building, a lot of resistance building. Then we had some support kind of building there over the past, couple weeks. So you got a nice little area of resistance up around $3.44. And here's what's surprising too, is that level of resistance that's pretty effing clear, right? You could take that level all the way back, and you could see that right around like 345, you had a lot of resistance build, right? You got below it, held below it as resistance 3 days back to back, retested it as resistance again here, retested it as resistance again here, and then we held above it as support 4 days back to back, July 18th, the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. So we have multiple touches off this 345 level. That's a pretty key level. But what else do you notice about 345? It's the 200 SMA, all right? And what do we know about the 200 SMA? It's a very strong moving level of daily support and resistance, right? Look at AMC and how it respects that 200 SMA. Let's go all the way back to like 2024. Look, every time we came up to that red line, right, that 200 SMA, we got rejected. We got pushed down pretty hard right here. Ran up to the 200 SMA. We got pushed down pretty hard. Here, ran up to the 200 SMA. We got pushed down pretty hard. Hey, run up to the 200 SMA and that level of resistance. Hey, we could absolutely get push down. Here's something else I noticed with AMC is you got a downtrend across these lower highs. So there is this downtrend that you could put up here on AMC. You got this downtrend. Wow. Would you look at that? You have downtrend resistance. You have a daily zone of resistance right at like 245. You got 200-day moving average resistance right at 345. So there are 3 separate things that we see that indicate it's going to be hard getting above 345. And if we fail to get above 345, we could absolutely see a nice little drop on off. So do I want to get short at 345 on AMC? Yeah, I have 3 reasons to get short, right? 3 separate. Downtrend resistance, 200 SMA resistance, daily zone, daily level of resistance. So 345 is going to be a tough level to get through. And look at that, guys. AMC this morning off earnings, pop, 345, hit, drop on off, right? That's not a coincidence, right? That's the power of confluences. When you have multiple indicators and tools lining up at the same price, indicating a buy or a sell, 80% of the time you see your levels respected. That's not a coincidence, guys. 345, it's a really random level, right? It's a random level, but why did we say 345? Daily resistance, 200 SMA, downtrend resistance, all lining up at 345. What do we do in pre-market? Come up, hit 345, and we drop about 50 cents to the downside. So I still like that 345 short level, right? 345 is going to be very hard to get above. If we fail to get above it and stay above it, I see a lot more downside than upside on AMC. Jared, what's up, buddy? Good morning. All right, guys, that's AMC. 345 is your key level. And you got some daily supply right there as well. So, you see that daily supply zone between 347 to 352? You also got some of that daily supply sitting right overhead. You got a lot of resistance. You got a strong ceiling that's going to be tough for AMC to get above, right? That's going to be tough. But if we are able to get through that really tough ceiling where we have downtrend resistance, daily resistance, supply, right? If we're able to get through it, that shows strength, right? So, again, there is that slim chance we get through that 345, 350 level. And if so, that shows strength. I would expect to see this thing push up to like $4, right? But there's a strong ceiling overhead, 345 to 350. If you fail to get through it, you could see a nice big drop back down to $3 on AMC. Radio Barry, what's up, buddy? It's been a minute. Touch base with you? Absolutely, good sir. Amy, I already looked at NQ, and we've already picked apart NQ. But if you've missed it, here's what you can do. You go over to my YouTube channel, and I just posted a 12-minute long video where I'm breaking down ES, NQ, and silver, right? The analysis, the game plans. So if you want to go check that out, go check it out. We've already broken it down. But that's over on my YouTube channel. The title, oh, what's the channel name? Yeah, not the title, the channel name. It's The Real Josh Howerton. It's the same as TikTok, same as YouTube. So The Real Josh Howerton. And you're going to see that video pop up. Actually, no, you won't. It's unlisted. So let me hit it as publish. Yeah, now you'll see it. But yeah, go check it out. It's titled Day Trading Game Plans, ES, NQ, Silver Futures, Monday, August 11th, 2025. And that will show up when you go to my YouTube channel if you want to check that out. Steve sharing the live. Appreciate you, buddy. All right. What else are we looking at, guys? We picked apart ES, picked apart NQ, silver, Goog, AMC. What else is catching yo attention? I think we got time for probably one more review with you guys. The SPY? Yeah, we can go SPY. I mean, I already did ES. You could trade SPY, just looking at the ES chart. But if we go look at SPY, got a nice little zone of resistance. All right, you got 1 hit, 2, 3, 4 hits. Friday made it 5 hits. So the SPY, you got this daily zone of resistance between 637.50 to 638. So 637.50 to 638. You got a daily zone of resistance. There's nothing else on the daily. Now we go down into a 4-hour time frame and see if there's anything on a 4-hour. Well, the only thing you have is that supply zone on a 4-hour, but that's supplied all-time highs, and we naturally tread lightly, taking trades when we have supplied all-time highs, but we're still going to mark it up. We do have that 4-hour supply zone. Let's go flip it down into a 1-hour. We have a couple 1-hour supply zones. There's some 1-hour supply right there. Price has already pretty much been beating that zone up. It's got quite a few hits on that 1-hour. Then you got some 1-hour up here inside of your 4-hour. Again, we're talking supply. So you got 4-hour supply, 1-hour supply up against those all-time highs. Go finish this on a 30-minute time frame. There is your 30-minute inside of your 1-hour. And there's a 30-minute supply zone here inside of your 1-hour as well. So based on the analysis we've done, what's the game plan with the SPY? So we've already been beating that supply zone up, right? We got 1 hit. We've beat it up Friday. We've been beating that zone up this morning. So are there going to be any unfilled orders left behind? Well, just kind of based on how price has already been beating up that zone, I would not expect to still see a large amount of unfilled sell orders behind. If anything, we've been taking all those sell orders out because we've been consolidating in this area for quite some time. But we do have a daily zone of resistance still present, right? If we didn't have that zone of resistance, I would not consider a short here. But since we have that daily zone of resistance that lines up with those two supply zones, I'll still entertain a short on the SPY. So what's the game plan on the SPY? Here's what I would like to see. I'd like to see the SPY open and fall out of supply. See a nice drop at the open. Come back up, retest that daily zone of resistance, and stay below it today as intraday resistance. And if we see that set up, I would look to get short back down to like 635.50 on the SPY. So here's what the plan would look like. Obviously, we want to see it fall out at the open, come back up, retest that zone of resistance. That's going to confirm these short entries right off the midpoint. So entries on the SPY would be at like 637.82. Stops would be above pre-market high. So your stop here would be at 638.62. So you got about 80 cents of risk. You got to look left and assess a target. I would say first target's going to be, I know I said 635.50. You're actually looking at 636 would be your first target. So I just don't like the risk reward on it, man. I mean, we're going to get a 2-to-1. I'm just not crazy about that 2-to-1. So that would be the short plan. Again, it's a 2-to-1 setup. I mean, it's fine. You could take it. It meets that minimum requirement of being a 2-to-1. You could take it. That's your short plan on the SPY. But here's your long plan very quickly before we wrap this up. If we see the SPY just rip up at the open, we need to remove those two supply zones. We'll be left with that daily zone of support. So if we rip through all that supply goes bye-bye. We break through that zone of resistance, what do we know? We could pull back, retest it, and hold above it as support today. We call that a break and retest. If we see the break and the retest setting up, we would want to get long and play calls. So what would the plan look like here to the long side on the SPY? Entries at 637.80. Stops below that zone of support. So you're going to be about 45 cents of risk. Where's your target? the overlap supply. So where you have 30 minutes, 1 hour, 4 hour supply, the overlap is going to be your target to the long side. So your target's going to be 640. Now look at your risk reward. That looks a lot better. That looks tremendously better. A 5-to-1. So yeah, I like the SPY long more than I like the SPY short, right? The SPY short, I can get about a 2-to-1 risk reward realistically out of that trade. If it sets up long, I can get upwards of a 5-to-1 risk reward out of that trade. So I like the long, obviously, better than I like the short. But you have your two plans. You got your long plan, break and retest. You know exactly where your entries are, stops, target. You got your short plan. Fall out of that supply zone. Come back up. Retest that daily zone of resistance. Build more lower highs. We know where the entry is, where the stop loss is, and where we have to look to sell for profit, where our target is on the SPY. So you got your two planes on the SPY, boss. Right? But we are closing in on market open. All right. So stay blessed as always. Trade smart, trade safe. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's breakdown session. We're going to do these Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:45 to 9:30. Tune in every day. Not only will you guys learn a lot how to do this analysis, you guys will have trade plans built for you, pretty much handed to you on a silver platter. You can rock and roll with it, execute it, and start to make some good profits trading. But stay blessed. Enjoy the rest of your day. Everybody inside the mentorship, I will see you in the Zoom session in like 10 seconds. All right, I was going to go 3, 2, 1, but I got to log in. So I'll see you guys in like 30 seconds. No, Zoom's messed up again. No, it's not. We're good. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, cool. All right, guys, let's crush it. Let's have an awesome day. And we are live, baby. Corey's big, beautiful face. What's up, buddy? What a great way to start the day. Freaking love it, dude.